on a Friday. What's up? What's happening? Welcome in. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live too on YouTube at the Team 980. Apparently, I need a louder microphone. I'll get that in a second, Anthony. Actually, I'll do it right now. Hold on. Can I bend the mic down here? This is awkward. What a heck of a start to the show. Where am I plugged in? Over here. Hello. Check one, check two. Check one, check two.
There you go, Craig.
All right, good. Glad that we're on the same page. Now, if we can just get you on the screen for the YouTube audience, we'll be up and running. Oh, happy Friday. But tell you what, this show, it's a show that has its things together. It doesn't sound like it right now, but we are 9 minutes away from Clinton Yates dropping knowledge on us. We're talking NBA with Clinton. We'll talk a little bit about the coach situations that have happened around the league, talk about Luka going back to Dallas, and then this Ja Morant situation we'll get into with Yates. He's actually going to join us for 2 segments, so we'll see about the Ja stuff at 4:30. We'll react to what Clinton has to say, and then David Aldridge is going to join us. So we got Yates, we got the Hall of Famer, we got Dave Johnson for his final regular season visit here during the show. Although, look, we understand when I say regular season visit, there's no postseason visits to come in terms of Dave being on the show, but like postseason, and that we could have Dave on after the season, off season, but first regular season. Or final regular season for Dave today. We also had on the station this morning, Wizards general manager Will Dawkins was on with the Junkies, so we'll hear some of that. A little take command flavor for some football, and that's how this show lines up, Anthony. So that's what we're doing today. But you know what I didn't expect to open the show just with a real quick nod to the news of the day with today?
What?
I didn't expect that I would be talking about new Commanders quarterback Josh Johnson today.
Me either.
Yeah, I covered the first Josh Johnson era. I was here on the beat in 2018 when Josh Johnson was a Washington football player for the first time. This was a guy that was hanging on barely in the league then. At the time, I think that was when like the XFL and the UFL started. He was the first pick in the UFL draft, and then he came over to the NFL, and then it was like, oh, now he's going to go play in the UFL in the offseason. Never has a player been on the fringe of a sport more than Josh Johnson while still being in the sport. Like, this is a man who, because of the character that he has, and people love having him around the building, and just kind of the freakish athleticism that he has, where you're just like, I don't know, if things go to hell, like, he gives us a chance to do something. This dude has had exactly one toe in the water of the NFL for like 13 years.
It's been some time.
I saw let me see if I can find this real quick. I think it was CBS Sports had it. It was
years is crazy though.
It was yeah. All right, ready? Have you ever had Josh Johnson on your roster? This is the question. And there's a Venn diagram, or not a Venn diagram, because there's no way to have yes and no together. But there's 2 circles, of course, not yet, and then the third circle is also yes, and it's 3 logos from the UFL.
Wow.
Teams that here's Josh Johnson's career. 2008 to 2011, he played for the Bucks. 2012, Niners. 2012 as well, another team in another league. 2012 also the Browns. 2013, I feel like an old man right now. I'm having to like zoom in. I'm like, I can barely see. But it's just because the team logos and everything are small because there's a lot of them. 2013 is where I left off, right? Yeah. The Bengals. 2014, the Niners. 2015, the Bengals again. 2015, the Jets. 2015, the Colts. 2015, the Bills. 2016, Ravens. 2016, Giants. 2017, Texans. In 2018, he played for the Raiders, and then he played for Washington. Then he played for some UFL team. 2019, Lions. Then some other UFL team in 2020. Niners again in 2020. 2021, he played for the Jets and Ravens. 22, he played for the Broncos and Niners. 2023, 24, he backed up Lamar in Baltimore, and now he's back with Washington.
He's had quite the career.
My favorite part is how many places he's been to twice. He had 2 stints with the Bengals, 2 stints with the Ravens, 2 stints with Washington, 2 stints with San Francisco, 3 stints with San Francisco.
Oh my gosh.
He has 2 with the Jets. Broncos, no. Bills just once. 6 different teams this dude's played for at least twice.
I think he puts the journeyman in journeyman QB.
Or he puts the journey in journeyman. That probably would have been a better punchline, Anthony.
Okay.
But you tried. So
the effort was there.
Nice try on that. Yeah, just crazy. He'll compete with Jeff Driscoll for the 3 job. That's what's going to happen there. That concludes the analysis of the Josh Johnson move. By the way, we haven't talked about the Wes Welker thing either because we don't know what it is. He's a personnel consultant. We'll see what that means. There are worse guys to have in the building than one of the greatest slot receivers ever, who, by the way, is really good friends with the offensive coordinator and is going to be working mostly in the personnel department.
Cool. I keep seeing he's going to, get Debo back on track, get him under his weight and things of this nature.
Maybe.
So
maybe his job is going to be Debo's babysitter. I doubt it. Debo's a grown man. I don't think he needs a babysitter. But, he was with him in San Francisco, and maybe there's some things that he knows about Debo that can help motivate him. Like, who knows? Whatever the thing is, they're smart people who like bringing in smart people and putting them in their best position to succeed. And that is not just coaches, but also executives and personnel people. And I'm sure that they'll have some small role for Wes Welker that he'll do really well. And there's a reason why they brought him in. That concludes the Wes Welker analysis. When we get back, it's a ton of hoops on the show today. Clinton Yates is going to join us talking about all this coaching nonsense, the absurdity that we all watched play out in front of our faces in Dallas with the Luka situation the other night. And then we'll also get into the Ja Morant issues that Ja's been having recently. We will get all that with Yates, David Aldridge at 5 o'clock here on the Team 980. The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980, where if you're watching, you see television's Clinton Yates, also radios, Clinton Yates, Clinton and Friends, mornings on ESPN Radio. You can check it out on the ESPN app. What's up, sir? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too, Gregory. I just was thinking about that YouTube video that I sent you. That was the throwback of us literally on the street. That was the day they won the Stanley Cup. It was that day that it happened. And that was wild to look back on. It had been a long time since I'd actually watched that in full. And turns out I was pretty decent on the hockey analysis. So that was great.
That worked out. It's a fun week to look back at all kinds of hockey adjacent things with Ovechkin. But you wanted to talk about, and I wanted to talk with you about the week in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're out there LA based now, and so I'm sure you spent quite a bit of time talking about the absurdity that was the scene in Dallas, where as Luka goes back, destroyer of worlds, 45 points, as the whole crowd cheers for him, chance to fire their own GM. And the highlight video or the memory video that he's teary-eyed beforehand watching, just to me, Clinton underscored the absurdity of the trade itself. Like, this is so clearly someone who that town means a lot to and that he didn't want to leave. And while he's been a pro's pro and played really well for the Lakers, and who knows, maybe it's actually even better for him in the long term for where he's wound up. Like, the idea that they traded that guy in his prime against his will is just, to me, highlighted in that scene as what perhaps the dumbest single transaction in the history of the sport, if not sports.
Yeah, and I talked myself into it this morning that if I was in fact running the league, I would have vetoed this trade. In looking back on it, simply because the effect on the Dallas is one that is injurious to the point of no repair. I mean, there's simply no way you can read that trust in the franchise, and more importantly, like, you can't recreate that situation with anybody. Like, that's the kind of place where you need a player like that from a market like that, from a place like that. And sure, will it be cool?
And let's unpack that for a second, right?
Yeah.
When you say from a place like there are certain, like, the reason Giannis has stayed in Milwaukee, Jokic has stayed in Denver, Luka stays in Dallas, as opposed to a lot of the American players that seem to always wind up in Miami or Los Angeles, is because they don't have the frame of reference of growing up here and understanding that. The fact that he lands in Dallas is a gift for you, Dallas.
It's more than a gift. It's the kind of seed that you can't plant on your own. And the fact that he referred to himself as a Texan on a regular basis was such an indication of things well beyond anything that had to do with basketball. And so we can sort of laugh at the close-up shots of Nico, people showing up with coffins outside of the arena. But, like, also, I just thought to myself, okay, it'll be great if him and Luka win some rings and, big Luka in LA guy. But, like, ultimately, it just won't be as cool as if he did it in Dallas. It literally won't. And so to see him so emotional by himself on that bench with the real tears coming out and then blowing up and really going for it, I just thought to myself, this was a miss. This was a real miss by the NBA. And I'm not saying that to alienate any particular fan base, but I just don't know what we're doing it for if you can pull capers off like that in the middle of the night just to kind of say that you did. It feels like whatever these nefarious conspiracy theories are about whatever the Mavs owners are doing have to be true. This feels like it was designed with malice to hurt the Dallas Mavericks fan base, and it did. And it will never, ever recover, in my opinion, not as long as Luka plays there. And frankly, probably not as long as a lot of the people who we are around will ever be. You're not getting another guy like that in this lifetime. You're just not.
No, unless Anthony Davis leads them to multiple championships, there is nothing that ownership group or that front office group. Because they can fire Nico for this.
Sure.
Then what? What? Like, Mark Cuban is sitting there like, I cannot believe these idiots that I sold this team to did this.
Right. And it's like the equity vested community-wise is more than just championships. I talk about this all the time. The idea that, the rings winning fixes everything. No, it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. That's the whole point of having human beings actually do it and not people just living in a simulation where you can root for the laundry on the front of your shirt. That's where this is a real problem. And that's where, to get back to Ovechkin, quite frankly, the idea that he stayed in one town the entire time, it happens to be our hometown, but this would have been my hometown. This would have been as cool of a story to me from the outside. It just happened to be personal. He was there. He won a cup there. And not because it's virtuous, but the time invested matters. You can't keep throwing things away just for the next best option because something made you mad in the moment. Like, man, that's such a tough situation to look at as far as Dallas is concerned. And I really hope that, honestly, Luka can have the career he deserves going forward, because something was taken from him that he didn't deserve to have taken from him. Excuse me.
Right. And the fact that he had no say over it in a sport, by the way, that is so controlled by the players. I mean, the other big story of the month in the NBA is the two coaches that get fired in Memphis and now in Denver with Mike Malone this week. And like, part of that is they're so afraid to upset star players in this league that at the first sign of like basically everyone else is expendable. Every single role player, everyone that is not the star. And for Nico Harrison and that ownership group to look at the star and not like, all due respect, which is not much, to Bradley Beal when he was here. Like, not a Bradley Beal, hey, this is our best guy. Like, this is actually one of the guys, star. And to be like, not only are we going to upset him, we're going to trade him.
I just don't get it. It's malpractice. You know what I'm saying? And, as far as the Denver situation is concerned, I think they're making a real mistake, mainly because of the timing. Like, there's no world in which you're going to tell me that getting rid of a coach 4 days before the playoffs begin is a smart move. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and even if, like, there's also the part of me that feels like, well, you guys sort of made this bed. You kind of have to live in it to a certain extent, because who else is going to walk into that situation? I understand that Adelman is relatively well liked, but he's also being set up to fail regarding what the potential ceiling is for this team. And like, let's say the Nuggets mess around and beat somebody. Then what? You know what I mean?
Right. Are you going to keep him just because?
Right. And that doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like, people, if you want to just rip everything up and blow everything up, it feels right in the moment. But then you turn around and look and you kind of say, what have I done? And why did I do it? And if you don't have an answer that's clear and present that you are consistently willing to act on, there's no point in doing it to begin with.
And by the way, that underscores the importance of the general manager position and a good relationship between your coach and GM. Because if your coach is all of a sudden a problem in the locker room, having a GM that can have a real honest conversation with that coach and be like, hey, man, like, you and I are going to, like, we're good. We're going to work together on this. But like, I need you to change your approach a little bit because players are upset. And then that allows the coach to go back in the locker room and be like, guys, I think I know that I'm intense. I think that got out of hand. That's my fault. Like, let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk it out. Like, that's pro sports. It's a high intensity environment where you sometimes have to have really tough conversations, and there's a high level of trust. You'd think Mike Malone had that level of trust, but then you hear the Cold War between him and Calvin Booth, and the GM is not able to have that conversation with the coach or the players. Nobody trusts each other. And then all of a sudden you're left with an owner who's like, I guess we're just going to fire everybody 4 days before the playoffs.
It feels awfully harsh and awfully foolhardy, because you don't need a GM to win a daggone playoff series or make a playoff run. You do need a coach to do that. And this team is extremely talented. So to throw it all away in sort of not quite a moment of passion, but after a long buildup, I just feel like if I was a Nuggets fan, I'd be like, you guys do not know what you're doing. I'm sorry. It's an indication of a lack of willingness to show some sort of expertise over just emotion in the moment. It's not good.
I will say this. I will give them this credit. If it was really like bad and it's like, hey, we need to make a change, the easy way out is just to let it implode and then do it after the season. At this point, I will give them the credit that they pulled the plug now and tried to salvage whatever is left of this season, because clearly they knew the path they were on wasn't going to end well. Yes, it comes with the roadblocks that you said and the potential, confusion of what happens if they were actually good. And then do we hire the interim guy? And is that actually a mistake? Like, there are downsides. But if you know that you were doomed anyway, the easy way out is just to let it go into doom and then make the change. And I will have to at least applaud the bravery to be willing to take the risk.
I guess, but the reason that Kroenke gave was, well, we got things we don't like, but the winning is masking everything. And in a world in which there's wins and losses as you measure stuff, this was going to be a problem. What? You were winning too much to mask the problems of the losses? I thought the whole point was the winning. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, the logic that was even said aloud did not add up to me. It felt like they just didn't like these guys and wanted to get rid of them and couldn't bring themselves to admit that in public. And that's a different discussion than actually your order of operations making sense.
No, that makes total sense. Clinton sticking with us through the break here. We'll talk about Ja Morant's more than adventurous week next. Also, more on the Mike Malone stuff with David Aldridge coming up in Not My Beat at 5 o'clock, but more with Yates after this here on the Team 980. The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Clinton Yates, nice enough to stick with us through the break here. Of course, you can check out Clinton and Friends on ESPN's app. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Clinton Yates, nice enough to stick with us through the break here. Of course, you can check out Clinton and Friends on ESPN's app, the ESPN radio section of it if you want to listen. They've also got the visual radio, television, multimedia superstar, Clinton Yates. He's also my friend. He's with us every Friday.
Yeah, for some reason, the beginning was really high.
In the NBA this week is...
It sounds different, right?
What is going on with Ja Morant. He does the finger guns at the Warriors bench.
I tried to turn it down some, but it still didn't work.
Do that again. Okay, thanks. He does it again. The Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Clinton Yates, nice enough to stick with us through the break here. Of course, you can check out Clinton and Friends on ESPN's app, the ESPN radio section of it if you want to listen. They've also got the visual, the whole deal, radio, television, multimedia superstar, Clinton Yates. He's also my friend. He's with us every Friday here on the show. So the other big story in the NBA this week really the last 2 weeks, is what is going on with Ja Morant. He does the finger guns at the Warriors bench. He is warned after an investigation, like, hey, man, don't do that again. Okay, thanks. He does it again. He's fined $75,000. He's like, okay, fine. I'm going to upgrade my weaponry, and I'm now going to launch fake grenades at the opposing bench / crowd. Instead, that has seemed to, I guess, been okay so far for the NBA. And he says he's going to keep doing it. You've known Ja a long time. You did a really big E60 story on him as he was coming out of Murray State. What's your where are you at on this?
Okay, so this has developed over the course of, let's just say, 2 weeks in a way that I think has moved from a serious discussion to kind of a comical one. But the people who are charged with effectively having to have the serious discussion are not the ones who have had it. And like, this is my thing. This has always been my thing. You can Google finger guns NBA, and you'll get a million players that come up before Ja Morant. You will get a LeBron James. You will get a Russell Westbrook. You'll get a Mikal Bridges. You'll find all sorts of people who have done gun-related pantomimes on NBA basketball courts. Now, will you find a bunch of people who have had gun-related incidents, I'm using air quotes here, off of the court on social media? No, you won't. But again, for me, this issue is still the same. If the NBA has a problem with gun gestures, ban gun gestures for everybody. Take a stance on why guns are a problem. Everything in between feels like you are just randomly criminalizing young black men for even being considered being viewed in public with firearms, something that we just kind of look at as bad, but we never really want to actually say why. Meanwhile, Chris Kaman can post himself with two, I don't even know what kind of guns these are, huge assault rifles with his shirt off in a hunting lodge, and nobody bats an eye. Chris Kaman has been out of the league for years. You know what I'm saying? Also, You got a guy like an AK-47, literally Andrei Kirilenko, whose name was designed after an assault rifle. Like, the inconsistencies are too obvious to me as somebody who, again, born and raised in the district. DC was the murder capital of America due to gun violence when I was 10 years old. This is not something that is foreign to me as a serious concept. But if you're going to take a serious topic, address it seriously. Don't just point and say, that's wrong, I don't have to explain myself, because who's learned from that? There's no lesson in that other than being punitive. And I think Ja, to his credit, kind of upped the ante in a way that's like, oh, is there really a problem? If there's a real problem, you let me know. And he sort of covered it. He went on a podcast. He said, no, it's not about grenades. I'm throwing my words to the crowd and I'm covering up the noise. And I was like, listen, you want to get into a war of words? Apparently, this guy is ready to play. So between all of the imagery we have about sharpshooters, snipers, riflemen, all this, it's like, let's be real here. Are we talking about the subject or are we not? And I think that too many people want to talk about it without actually talking about it.
I agree with that part of it. To me, there's like a couple of different things. Like, one, Ja Morant's obsession with, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, right? His obsession with like weaponry and violence in that way, I could see why that is a problem. Also, when you talk about shooting, like obviously a basketball, we know that's different than shooting a gun, but like those words become interchangeable, and you do get the snipers and the sharpshooters and all those kinds of things. And I think that there is a clear line of delineation that we can say where like water guns in video games, and there are people who are like, those are problems in America. And that's a different discussion for a different show. We can at least acknowledge there's a gray area. I think specific to the fine for Ja, he deserved every dollar of that on the same way that like, do you know how NFL drug testing works?
I mean, if I asked Pac-Man Jones, I can figure it out.
So basically, there's a window of drug testing in the NFL, and you get tested once as long as you're not in the program, right? And there's like many strikes, and it is basically a are you addicted / are you an idiot test,
right?
And it's like if you get tested on the second day of the window, which is like a 6-week window, you can smoke all the weed you want after that. Yeah. You ain't getting tested again. And so like it literally, and I think they might have updated it to where marijuana might not even be on the list anymore, but like it was literally a, are you an idiot test? Because there was like a couple of weeks that you couldn't smoke or do whatever else. And there are guys certainly in the league that even on the performance enhancing drug side, like they know how to do the program to miss the testing. And so there was some of that where it's like, hey man, you just got investigated on Monday. They told you don't do it again. You did the same thing again on Thursday. That's insubordinate. You're basically getting fined for insubordination, and at that point, you earned it.
And I don't think he has a problem with that. I think that's the point here. He has no issue with being insubordinate. He's the star of his team. He makes plenty of money. Insubordination is not an issue for him. It might be for some other people, but I understand that stance.
I also think that if I'm the league and I've had a guy that's had a couple of incidents off the floor, including there was like the fight with the kid and that whole situation, and like which was a violent situation. Mm-hmm. Then there's also the brandishing the firearm on social media. And there have been these multiple incidents. I probably am trying to be like, hey man, we want to be able to put you on posters?
Yeah. Can I interest you in something other than this knuckleheadry? Exactly.
Right. And I think one of the things that I've always had in mind in Ja goes back to some of the stuff, the reporting that you did about like who he is. Like this isn't where Ja came from. Well, like, it was a poor.
Yes and no here, Gregory. You're from South Carolina. You ever been to Dalzell? It's the country, Jack. Everybody's got 100%. Gun.
100%. But here's the other thing I'll say of someone who grew up in South Carolina with friends who had guns and the whole thing. Like one of the things in gun culture and gun safety is like real gun people will tell you one of the rules, unloaded or loaded, you don't point firearms at other people.
Right.
Like if you are serious about being a gun owner safely and responsibly, and again, whether that's a thing that can be done and all that, that's a different conversation.
Is it though? And let me cut you off there because that's where this becomes difficult. Is this idea that safety means one thing to another person versus another? To some people like me, that's not a delineation. They're all the guns. You know what I'm saying? And
for sure,
that's where it becomes difficult.
For the side of the argument, right, mm-hmm. on the whole Second Amendment or gun safety, whatever side on that argument, one thing that is agreed upon among people who are like, we can safely own guns is you don't point them at other people. And that's where I think like if you're Ja and you're pointing your finger guns specifically at the other bench, like, okay, now you've broken code. So there's like, I think that there is layers here of this that if depending on how deep you want to go into the gun issues and whatever, there are conversations that could potentially be had. And I think to your point, the NBA would just rather be like, can we not deal with this?
Yeah.
And by the way, I understand them not wanting to deal with it. It's a lot simpler if they don't have to deal with it. But if they're going to deal with it, they have to then actually explain where they are stance-wise. And I think that is where you're at.
Gilbert Arenas, one of the most popular NBA pods we have out here, period. A guy who literally brought guns into an actual locker room. I don't see that hurting his career. I'm just saying.
I've got a lot of other problems with Gil and the things he sends on that podcast outside of what he did in a Wizards locker room.
That's what I'm saying. The inconsistencies are too obvious to smart people for us to just stand there and be like, okay, this makes sense. That's kind of how I feel.
So where ultimately, like, do you land on it? Like, what's the conclusion?
They need to ban all gun weapon-related celebrations for every single player in the league, and it should come with a fine and suspension. And I think that the reason they should say that is because simply this is a problem that they can't control, and this is something that imagery-wise they don't want to be a part of. It's not that hard to me. It isn't that difficult to say, look around. Gun violence is literally the biggest problem we have in this country as a nation that claims to do this recreationally. We don't want to be a part of it. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's going to be some big political move, even though, I mean, I guess to some people it is.
No, it will be. And that's why they probably don't want to do it, is like they don't want to be on the rights.
They don't want the heat.
For like, no pun intended here. They don't want to be on the rights target list.
Right.
Right-wing media that is very, very passionate about that and looks for things like this to elevate. But then again, typically those types of things don't apply to young black men. So who knows how that is going to NBA, do it.
These are just regular fingers.
Political.
There's no gun X.
Here's looking at you. Here's looking at you, kid. NBA, political science experiment. Go. Clinton Yates, everybody. You can catch him on ESPN Radio daily. Clinton and Friends. If you can't catch him daily because your schedule doesn't allow, they podcast the show, so it does allow. He's with us every Friday. Thank you, sir.
Goodbye, Gregory. Have a great weekend.
Hoffman Show for the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. This is a very popular song on TikTok. It's also the song that Jaden Daniels danced to often after scoring touchdowns this year. Anthony, you called it the Maps song, though?
It's called Naps.
I didn't know the song was called Maps.
Yeah, it's by the Yeahs.
Yeah, that part I knew because you told me. Yeah, I mean, like I've heard of the song, I just didn't know the title and artist information. That's like my level of old or out of touch. It's like that's a thing, by the way. Like I used to, for multiple different reasons, I used to know a ton of artist information. Like, stupid Craig Hoffman party trick is if you name a song, Anthony, that came out between 2004 and about 2013. I'm like, it was on the top 40 charts in a major way. I can probably tell you what year it came out. Like, and title, artist, the whole deal. Like, that was my era where because I was DJing at the time, like knew music really, really, really well. Title, artist, whatever. And then I think like also was listening to the radio more from like still 2013 to, whenever. And then it kind of is we all collectively, all due respect to our colleagues on the music side of the business, entered more of our Spotify, Apple Music, whatever eras and just listened to a lot of playlists. Like if you mostly listen to music when you're, say, running, you're not checking to see who the artist is. You're just running. You're like, oh yeah, I like this song. No idea what it is. Sometimes I might take a peek and like screenshot real quick to be like, I want to add this to my own playlist later. But if you just like pull up a Apple Fitness running playlist or Apple Music running playlist or Spotify this playlist, you might hear a song 50 times and not know who sings it. That's the era of music I'm in terms of knowledge right now.
Well, yeah, this song sort of kind of precedes that. It came out in 2003.
That song did?
Yeah.
But it became popular last year because of TikTok.
Yeah, it became popular because of TikTok, but it also was popular in Rock Band. That's the only reason I even know the song, because I used to sing the song. I really can't sing, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you would do your version of singing.
Yeah,
of the song.
yeah.
I mean, technically, it's still singing.
I'll play the guitar.
Just because it's singing doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
And also, let's be clear, the guitar.
Yeah.
Do you play any musical instruments?
As a kid, when I was in 4th and 5th grade, I played the bass drum.
Okay.
Yeah. My elementary school, we used to have a music. We had a music teacher, and she used to let us play like all the instruments. I wanted to play the drums, and I was one of the only few boys that was strong enough to, carry the drums all the way around the school. I want to say we did like 4 times, and it was very tiring. But yeah, I played the drums a little bit.
Okay. Is any of that you held? Like, if you sat down at a drum set or you were handed a drum now, would you be able to do anything?
No, I can just hit it. That's all I could do.
Okay, just very, very basic. I took piano lessons as a wee lad. Didn't last past like 1st grade. I wish that I had, though. I took them again. So like I took a music theory class senior year of high school, and I think I've told this. I know I've told you this before, but like I initially was going to go into music production instead of radio, and then I found radio. I was like, no, this is my calling. But knowing that I wanted to do music production, I started taking piano lessons again because it's super important to be able to play basic stuff if you want to create music. Why I thought I could do that, I don't know. But anyway, I took piano lessons again my senior year. And then a couple years ago for her birthday, I got Rachel a piano, like a keyboard, because she played a lot as a kid and is actually like good at it. She's got multiple musical talents and was like multiple musically talented when she was younger. And so when we got that, I started playing a little bit again, but I get to a very basic point that's not even worth bragging about, and then I seem to not have the consistency to follow through. But it's one of those things where you're reminded as you do it as an adult how much easier it is to learn as a child. Like the way our brains develop as humans, we are meant to learn as children. If you are a parent and you want your child to learn something, don't be terrible about it. You don't want them to resent the thing. But if you can get them to learn it while they're younger and make it enjoyable, they will build a baseline of skills. And that goes for musical instruments, language, all of these things. Like I will speak as much Spanish as I possibly can to my future child whenever I'm going to have a future child, if I'm lucky enough to have a future child. This is not an announcement. This is just a statement of fact. Eventually I will speak as much Spanish as possible. And, Rachel's been doing her German Duolingo. Like I hope that we speak a little bit so we can give them a child like a base in multiple languages. Because it's just so much easier to learn it when you're young compared to trying to teach our brain now that's forgetting more things than we are intaking.
Yeah.
That good response, Anthony.
I mean, it wasn't much to like add. I think like as a kid, like,
it was just funny. You were just like, yeah. Anyway, here's Ted Emmerich with the Masters update. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too, at the Team 980. Get to a little bit of NFL draft talk later on this hour with Logan Paulson. How did he put together his big board? The big fellow reveals, courtesy of Take Command. Also, 6 o'clock today, Dave Johnson, his final visit of the regular season. We'll hear from Will Dawkins as well in the 6 o'clock hours. He was on the Junks this morning, so if you missed that, best of what you got to hear. We'll get to at 6:15 before our weekend preview at 6:30. But right now, let's keep the NBA talk rolling with the best person we possibly could.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not my beat.
The NBA is entering its final weekend, and there is tons to talk about, and who better to bring on than the Pro Basketball Hall of Famer, David Aldridge, senior writer at The Athletic. DA, appreciate your time as always, sir. Happy end of Hoops regular season.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it, man.
You and your colleagues worked on a big story this week on the heels of the Michael Malone firing in Denver. It is not common that we come to the end of the season and the winning teams are firing their coaches. Why do you think that we've now had two of these with Taylor Jenkins in Memphis and then Malone here? What was it, 4 games to go in the regular season when the Nuggets let him go? Yeah. Why has this become a thing?
I think you can look at. To me, it starts with ownership. You have a new type of owner in the league now. You've got more corporate ownership, more kind of hedge fund guys who are kind of used to, or maybe have less patience, I think, in terms of going through cycles of losing and winning that you do in all sports, but especially in team sports. You don't win 60 games every year in the NBA. It's very hard to do that. Like, it's really hard because injuries and all kinds of things conspire to keep you from getting there. So you don't usually have a run like Golden State had. Like, you have to have not just a generational player, but an all-time type of player like Steph Curry to build around to get that kind of success. But these owners today are just a lot less, I think, patient or willing to go through that cycle of ebb and flow. Like, you make the second round, you make a conference final, and maybe you lose in the first round the next year. And it doesn't mean your team was worse. It means that you got, again, where injuries or a player that you expected to play well didn't have a good season. There's clashes between coaches and players or coaches and management, whatever it is. And they just aren't willing to go through that. And so you see a team like Denver, it's 2 years removed from a championship. Like, you know what I mean? With a very different roster than they had 2 years ago. And there was certainly some corporate infighting between the coach and the GM that weren't on the same page. But at the end of the day, you look up there, the 4 seed in the West, which is just a brutal conference. Like, that shows you they've not only got one of the 2 or 3 best players in the world, but they have a chance, right? Like, they do have a chance to win a championship this year. So they need a couple of things to go their way, and they need to stay healthy. But it's not like they were out of the playoffs or something like that, where you might expect something like this to happen. So it just goes to show that the pressure that's on teams and coaches and players to deliver championships year in and year out is higher than ever. And so people are just not going to be willing to kind of wait 4 or 5 years unless you're in a total rebuild. Most teams are not going to let you do that anymore. And so it's very hard to get management and ownership to kind of be okay not playing in the finals or the conference finals. They just think, well, I'll get somebody else in here to kind of get the most out of Nikola Jokic. And I don't know what you can get more out of Nikola Jokic than 3 MVPs in the championship. You know what I mean? Like, but okay, good luck with that. Good luck. Maybe you can find somebody who can get more out of him, but I don't know that you can.
This feels almost like a silly follow-up, considering what you just said, but like, is there any merit to this, or is is this a way that some owners might avoid some of the mediocrity that has been a signature of some NBA franchises over the years? Or is this so far in the other direction that it is hard to look at it as anything but a negative?
Well, I mean, look, you can what you're hearing out of Denver is that Michael Malone had lost the locker room. That's possible, sure. I mean, that could be. Defensively, they have fallen way off of where they were 2 years ago when they won a championship. I would humbly submit that part of the reason that they've fallen way off is because you took all the defensive players away. You let KCP walk, you let Bruce Brown walk, you let all of the guys who really were great perimeter defenders leave in free agency instead of paying them, which you could have, that's a choice. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and a choice that should be said, DA, like a choice in large part made, I'm sure, by ownership, because if ownership greenlights the contracts, then they would be like, hey, you guys come on back.
That's my point. My point is you decided as a team, okay, we just don't want to pay Bruce Brown $20 million a year. That's a choice. And it's okay if that's your choice. It's okay to say, I'm not going in the second apron to keep this team together. Okay, that's a choice. But then you can't be shocked that your defense falls off when you let your two best perimeter defenders go for nothing. Like, it's not like you traded them and got something back. They left in free agency and you got nothing for them. So, that to me speaks to a certain reality that I think it's hard to ask Michael Malone to build a, elite defense with first and second year players, and again, that gets back to the clash that he had with Calvin Booth, who's the GM, who, and again, I don't think GMs do this unilaterally. I think they are told, I'm not spending the luxury tax. Build the best team you can with what you have to work with, right? So, you got a max player, obviously, in Jokic. You got a max player in Jamal Murray. You've got a near max player in Michael Porter Jr. There's just not a lot of wiggle room there financially unless you bring in a bunch of rookies on rookie contracts. Okay, and you give them the marching order is you got to play the rookies. If you play the rookies, you're not going to be as good defensively. It's just reality. Like, it's nothing against them. Most rookies are not elite defenders when they come into the NBA. So you lose a little, you lose a lot, and they lost a lot. And so now you say, well, our defense is bad, so we had to make a change. Well, your defense is bad because all the defensive players are no longer here. Nikola Jokic is a wondrous offensive talent. He is not a rim protector. He is not a guy that's going to shut down somebody else's, best big man. He's not going to come into the middle. You can't funnel things to him like you can to Rudy Gobert, and he's going to block 4 shots a game or something like that. It's not what he does, right? So their strength defensively was on the wings. They had great wing defenders that could really disrupt what other teams were trying to do outside, challenge 3-point shots. And they don't have that anymore, And so, yes, you can say Michael Malone lost the locker room. It's a different locker room. It's not like he lost the locker room that won the championship 2 years ago. They were all good with Michael Malone, it's a back and forth. And so I don't know that we're going to see this everywhere in the NBA. But it's a copycat league. So I'm sure we'll see more of it, but and I don't know that it's especially good for the league, but it's kind of the reality of the league.
David Aldridge with the senior writer for The Athletic here on the Hoffman Show. The other part about this, DA, that's a little more specific to Denver, but is also an interesting, larger sports conversation is that Cold War between Malone, as it's been termed, the Cold War between Malone and Calvin Booth. And I think of good GM head coach relationships, and you mentioned Golden State earlier, the relationship that Bob Myers had with Steve Kerr, the relationship, if you want to go in another sport and make it local, that Adam and Dan have out in Ashburn. The ability for, if a coach or a GM gets under some players or whoever else's skin, for the other one to be like, hey, let's have a talk, and then maybe we go talk as a group and we get it hashed out, because sports aren't always easy, and sometimes you got to be adults. And it seems like that relationship, not having that element, perhaps made it so that people were not psyched in that locker room with Michael Malone, where if Calvin Booth was going to come down from the GM's office and be like, hey, let's talk through this, that wasn't going to work with the relationship he had with Malone. So how much of that is a problem, and how much does it underscore in your mind the importance of a GM head coach relationship, or am I overselling that part of it?
No, not at all. I think that's very important. There's got to be alignment. Like, how many times have we talked about that, out in Ashburn over the last 3 decades or so, you know what I mean? Like, your GM and your coach and your owner, they've got to be on the same page about, here's how we're going to build, and here's how we're going to sustain, and here's how we're going to retool on the fly if we have to. Like we've got, if you start in, like if you take Denver as the example, we've got one of the 3 best players in the world. How do we build around them? How do we keep building around them? Here's what we're going to do. And that clearly was not the case, I think, the last 2 years, really, but certainly this year, because they just, Mike Malone, look, coaches are interested in one thing. How do I win tonight? How do I win the game I'm playing tonight? That's all they care about. They don't care about 2 years from now, 3 years from now. They don't care about luxury taxes. They care about how do I win the game I'm playing today, right? And the GM, most GMs are thinking about how are we going to still be good 3 years from now, right? And so there's a natural kind of friction there, and it's okay. It's not a bad thing to have that friction, but it has to be managed, and there has to be an understanding of how you can do the best of both, which is win today, but also be able to win 3 years from now. And that's where I think Booth's position was, well, if we play the guys now in 2 or 3 years, Nikola may be a little less than he is now, but he's still going to be really, really good. And these guys will be up to speed and ready to kind of compete for more championships. That is just not what a head coach in the NBA cares about. He doesn't care about 2 years from now because he thinks he's going to get fired anyway. So he'd rather win the games he can win right now and win as many as he can to kind of keep himself in his job. So it's a tough call. It's a tough one, Craig. It's not easy. It just isn't easy to do. And it's hard because then you have owners who are like, I want to win, but it's going to cost you all this money. You're going to have to go in the second level luxury tax. Well, I don't want to do that. You have to win another way.
Right.
Well, again, good luck with that. It's really hard to win. Like the Celtics went all in and they got to the second apron and they kept spending. And even they had to sell the team because it was just too darn expensive. At least in their eyes, it was too expensive to keep this team together. And so it's hard. It's really hard to build and sustain a championship team.
Yes, some would argue impossible. And by the way, some would also argue that's kind of the design of the league. It's a league designed for parity, and we see that as much as we can in a sport where there are 5 players for each team on the floor at once, and typically one of them is way better than everyone else. One of those guys is Luka Doncic, and the Mavericks decided to trade him for reasons that they've tried to explain and no one buys. David, in your 30 years of covering the NBA and sports in general, have you ever seen a scene like what we saw in Dallas the other night when he returned?
Yeah. Well, it was different because instead of being beloved, it was hated. When LeBron went back to Cleveland, it was
right.
It was similar passions in a different way, in the complete opposite way. But yes, I mean, I've seen a team, I've seen a fan base that did not really care about the results of the game. They just wanted to vent their anger at, in this case, Nico Harrison, the GM, about the trade. And again, as we've been talking, I don't know that any GM just calls his owner up one day and says, oh, by the way, I'm going to trade Luka Doncic this afternoon. Just wanted to let you know. Doesn't usually work that way, Craig.
Nope. And by the way, it's even rare if that has happened, which I don't think has happened very often in the annals of NBA history, that the owner goes, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't usually work that way.
No.
So, I mean, I understand that the GM's job is to take the heat for ownership decisions, and that's why Nico's in that spot. And you can rightly say, okay, even if you're going to trade him, I wouldn't have done it. But if you're going to do it, you have to get more than he got. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Fair criticism of him. But he didn't make this decision on some whim, and he didn't make this decision on his own. And at the end of the day, I still believe that this new ownership group that did not draft Luka Doncic, that did not have a relationship with Luka Doncic, I will say this. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but I do believe that in part, when given the information that they were given about him, they said, we're not spending $345 million on Luka Doncic. We're not doing it. So make the best deal you can, but we're not doing that. And so that's a choice. Again, I think it's a wrong choice, but that's a choice. And so it was unusual to see that. And it's going to be, this is going to take a long time for the Mavericks to kind of get out from under. No matter what they really do in the playoffs this year or even next year. I mean, it's just hard. You know, I liken it to this. What did Nats fans feel like when they traded Juan Soto? It's like that. Like, you know, like, wait a minute, why are we trading the best player we have and one of the best players in the league and the one guy that my kids want to come see, right?
Right.
It's very emotional. It's very hard to kind of go, well, it's just business. You know, it was just the cost of doing business. It's very hard to look at an ownership group that's worth billions of dollars saying, you know, we just can't pay that. It's just too much money. And we'll see you later while we're counting our money. You know, like it's just really hard for an average fan to kind of be okay with that. They get angry about that, and so it's not usual. It's not unprecedented. It's very unusual, and I understand. I don't disagree. I mean, an owner can do whatever they want. It's their money. It's their team. I've never said they can't do what they want. But what they should do is explain why they did what they did. That's what I think ownership has to come out front and say, this is why we did this. And you can blame me because it's my team instead of letting your GM take all the bullets. That never has sat well with me in, you know, almost 40 years of covering sports.
David Aldridge, senior writer for The Athletic, with us here on the Hoffman Show. Last thing for you, DA. Let's look ahead to the playoffs. The Western Conference is incredibly tight below the 1 seed. Houston's pretty locked in, or at this point is actually numerically locked into the 2 seed as well. Right. But all the way down from 3 to 8, it's anyone's game. Do you think that this is going to be a really competitive playoffs, or is this really actually a really fun undercard to the Oklahoma City Thunder Invitational because the Thunder have had genuinely one of the best regular seasons in the history of the sport?
No question. They have, and they have earned it. And most of the teams that they're at 66 with 2 games left. So they have, you know, depending on whether they play their guys or not. I mean, they'll have somewhere between 66 and 68 wins. You know, if you go back and look at the teams that have won that many games, almost all of them have made the finals, and most of them won the championship, right? So they certainly should be the favorite, but nothing is going to shock me in the Western Conference. Nothing is going to shock me other than, well, I mean, I was going to say other than an 8 beating a 1, but if Minnesota's the 8,
yeah.
You tell me Anthony Edwards can't go off in a 7-game series and average 40 a game? Yeah, he can. You know what I mean? So it's so competitive. I mean, the Clippers have been playing so good. And they're going to be the 5 seed probably, or the 6 seed. You know what I mean? Or maybe they're the 4. But I mean, even if they're the 4 seed, that means they got to play OKC the second round. You know, it's brutal. It's just brutal. It's going to be incredibly difficult. So I always believe that it comes down to injuries. When you get to the playoffs, the healthiest team usually wins because they're all good. It's the healthiest good team, right? So I think it'll come down to who can stay healthy over these next 2 months and get to June and conference final with most of their team intact. And that to me is going to be the signal in the West. In the East, I mean, look, all due respect to there's very good teams. I think Indiana is the one team I look at that I go, wow, they've got a shot because they're very deep and they defend pretty well and they've got a couple of really great offensive players. But you would look at this and go, Cleveland and Boston have kind of separated themselves from everybody else, and I will be surprised if it's not Cleveland and Boston in the conference final, right? And I would agree with that perspective. I mean, I just think they are the 2 best teams, and they are both excellent defensive teams, and I suspect they will be good. And I suspect they will make their way to the conference finals, and one of them will win out. But the West it's really tough. Like it's just competitive. It's not like there's 2 good teams and 6 mediocre teams. It's like there's 6 really, really good teams and, you know, a couple of guys that have great individual talents like Minnesota and Memphis. And, you know, they have a puncher's chance. So it's going to be crazy out West.
Yeah, and you look at, for instance, the winning percentage the Warriors have since the Butler trade, especially when he plays. That's right there somehow with Oklahoma City's 66 to 68 win season. They barely lost, so get some small sample sizes of fun to try to predict with as well. DA, I'm sure we'll talk to you throughout the playoffs. Thanks so much for your time as always, sir, and have a great weekend watching these seeds sort themselves out.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it, man.
All right, that is David Aldridge with us here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, a little football action. Logan Paulson's put together his big board, but it was a lot harder than it was last year and in years past. Why is it so difficult? Logan will discuss next here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Take command. Of course, the podcast to do with Logan Paulson. If you want to get questions in for the mailbag edition we're doing next week, it actually won't be with Logan. It'll be with John Keim, filling in for Logan while Logan is in London on vacation. So you can submit your questions at hoffman.sports on Instagram or by going to hoffmanshow.com. Use the contact link, and you can get your questions in for me and for Keim to answer. But before Logan left in our final episode, he shared how much struggle he had putting together his big board this year. It was just way harder for him than it was last year. Why? That's where we lead you here on a Friday. Let you listen in on Take Command here on The Hoffman Show. You have been working on your big board, and you signed on to the StreamYard here this morning, and you just go, dude, this thing's a beast to put together. No pun intended on the beast. A beast for Logan. Why is putting together your big board so much harder this year than it has been in years past? What is it about this class?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting. Like last year, it felt like I was probably spoiled me a little bit. Last year's the first one I did one like in earnest. Like I've done them before, but it's always been a little bit like I'll use someone else's rankings and, kind of parse those together or use something like the Beast to kind of help me kind of guide the process. And this year I'm kind of doing it, or last year was the first year I did it in earnest.
You're doing it, you're baking from scratch as opposed to a starter kit.
Correct. Yeah. And so like last year, I felt like it was, I don't want to say obvious, but it was very clear. It's like these players are good. Like these guys are like worthy of a top 5, top 10, top 15 pick. And it just kind of fell really nicely. And there was some subjectivity to it, like, Latu versus Jared Verse or whatever. But like they were both going to be good. You know what I mean? Just depends on how good and what system and all that kind of stuff. This year, it just feels like there's way more questions about the prospects, way more uncertainty. And like for me, uncertainty tends to drive people down boards. You know what I mean? So like in this year's class, we were just talking about the edge rushers. Like I look at the edge rusher and there's one guy, Abdul Carter, who to me is definitively the best, maybe the best player in the draft. Like he's like top 3 for sure for me. But then after that, it's like, the difference between Mike Green right now is my second guy. But again, I don't have any off-field information about him. But like the difference between Mike Green, Donovan Ezuraku, Nick Scorton, Sherman from Texas A&M, Shamar Stewart, right? Like James Pierce, like it's very, very small. Like it's almost to Landon Jackson before there's like a definitive difference. Like I really like Mike Green. He might be in his own tier, but again, then there's that off-field stuff. So like, and then I kind of was like going through and I was like, if I was tiering this last year, like where would all these guys go? And to me, it's like, oh, they'd be in this like 20 to like 45 type range, like even Shamar Stewart, who I love the athlete. I love the physicality, just not overly productive. There's not like a ton of polish there. So like, I like the player, but again, is he worth a top 10 pick? Like probably not, Walker from Georgia is another guy that I find really interesting because he's like this off-ball linebacker hybrid. And I know there are people that absolutely love him, but I'm like, he's not great at off-ball linebacker. He's not big enough to play true edge. He's got good pass rush juice, but there's risk there. We talked about that with Jeremy Green. Like, so you're like, that's going to push down. And then, there's other positions that should fill that up, right? That's how it should go. Like if there's
in theory,
yes,
but not this year necessarily. And so all of a sudden in every single mock draft, Jalen Walker is being mocked 8th to Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's like, how is a dude with this many questions the unanimous 8th pick in the draft?
Yeah. And again, like just to be clear, like he's a good football player, but and if he went to Washington at 29, I'd be like, damn, like good for us. You know what I mean?
But also you wouldn't be based off the talent. You wouldn't be like, this is totally ridiculous that he fell.
Right. That's exactly right. It's the same. It's exactly right. And then you talk about like, it's the same thing with the safeties. Like I love Malachi Starks. Like he, to me, should be a top 10 pick, but I see some people mocking him at 30 or 28. And you're just like, okay, like he's a good football player. Wasn't overly productive, but like he's one of the better football players in this class. And then Nick Amon-Wari is another interesting one because there's such a projection. Like I think the PFF guys said it the best yesterday. Like physically, he's got everything you want, but like, is he a true like box safety? Because he's not a great tackler. He's not overly physical. There are games where he flashes, right? Big, explosive, athletic stuff, but the consistency's not there. So it becomes more of a projection. And like, I think I've said this before on this show, like the higher a prospect goes, the more certain I am about the prospect, right? Like that's ultimately what it boils down to. So when it kind of all shook out. Like I just finished my first tier of guys. I think I had 6 guys that were like tier 1-ish type players. And even that, I'm like pushing guys in there because people got to get drafted. You know, that was the other weird thing about it. It's like, you know, some people say, oh, I don't put second tier guys in my mock or my big board. Great. You know who, but people have to get drafted there. They have to. So like, where do you put them? Like, do you just say, oh, there's no tier 2 guys, I'm not drafting anyone between 10 and 25? Like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, you got to draft somebody there. So like, I fill mine in is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, so guys wind up moving up, and maybe that's that type of thing where you elevate based off of your need. It's like, well, this is the next best player on the board, and this is the position that we go. The other thing that's weird, I think, about this class, and especially if you contrast it with last year, is the quarterback class is just not good.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, Cam Ward, I would say
Cam Ward's a good player. Yeah, but like he's the 4th or 5th. Now, again, last year's quarterback class is insane, but he's the 4th or 5th guy off last year.
Yeah.
Like where do you have him relative to Penix and Nix?
So, yeah, I guess to me, he would have been slightly ahead of them. Like, he's in that group, like that cluster of guys. You know what I mean? Because it's like...
So, he's below Williams, May, Daniels.
And I had JJ. I was big on JJ McCarthy. So JJ McCarthy was in that first group for me. So he's like, you know, 5, 6, 7, however you want to slot them. I personally like him a little bit better than Penix. I felt like Penix was a little bit robotic. I felt like Bo Nix was a little bit of a check down Charlie. I fell in love with Cam Ward's like playmaking ability. You know what I mean? Right. And so, but there are guys that are going to say, well, that Logan, that's insane. He's definitely after Bo Nix. Like that's where the subjectivity of that second tier of quarterbacks, like, become, you know, when you're comparing it to last year, becomes a thing, you know. So that's what I'd say is I like him a lot. I like him a lot more the more I watch him. I think he does some really special stuff. And we were talking about this off air a little bit too. Like there's certain players you like their background. And I like the fact that he started at a small school. He wasn't highly recruited and he just had to grind and work and learn new offenses because it shows me a passion and support of the game. And I think we're going to talk to Dane about that a little bit with some other guys, but I really appreciate that, especially after seeing what Jaden Daniels was last year, especially after seeing what Bo Nix was last year. Like these guys that had to face adversity, like they can handle some of the stresses of playing the position at the NFL level. And I'm not saying he's going to be amazing, but I do think there is the potential that he's a top, you know, like 12 guy in the league at some point in his career. And I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, Cam legit, I got Dane's quarterback list up, first round grade, right?
Yeah.
Shador's the second guy. He's got a second grade on him.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart, second, who, by the way, I saw, talk about guys getting pushed up positionally. I saw Todd McShay in his mock 3.0 has Dart going second off the board, quarterback-wise, 9 to the Saints, because he thinks this guy more resembles what Kellen Moore has worked with in the past. And maybe that's the direction they go if they go quarterback. By the same token, if I'm the Saints, I'm like, I don't know, I'd probably just rather trade back into the 20s and take him there because he's probably going to be available. So, but it just shows that, like, the idea that Jackson Dart could go top 10 based off of the tape and based off of, you know, the evaluation feels crazy, but he's in the right draft if he wants that to happen for himself. And then this year, quarterback 6 last year was Bo Nix, and he went 12th overall, I think. Quinn Ewers is quarterback 6 this year. He might not come off the board until the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah. I mean, I like right now, I'm not super high on Quentin Ewers, like probably 5th, 6th feels, again, like 4th, 5th, 6th, it's all kind of in the wash, but I think it speaks to your point. Like, who, like, there's like 4 guys that I think maybe could do it. 5, you know, like the kid from Syracuse, I can't remember his name at the moment.
Kyle McCord, baby, let's go.
Kyle McCord, I think he's got a shot at being a high-end backup somewhere. Tyler Shuck, just from the physicality, but he's 26 years old. Like, he's 26 years old. Like, what are we doing here? And then it's Dart, and then Shador and Cam Ward, obviously. So that's kind of
by the way, on the quarterback class, Jalen Milroe is an ultimate wild card because athletically, that dude is a freak.
Yeah, and when I did my initial quarterback ranking on the Ticket to the Draft show, he was my 5th guy over Kyle McCord, and I think the athletic upside is tremendous. But then I kind of was talking to Jeremy Green. I was talking to my producer about it, and I was just like, I don't know if he's ever going to get the opportunity to actualize any of these athletic traits. You know, like, he's a freak, right? But, like, he's going to be a backup quarterback. Like, how many reps is he going to get? How studious is he going to be? Is he going to develop the way, you know, Josh Allen did? And Josh Allen developed because he got a ton of reps, you know? And I think that's where to me, it's really challenging with this quarterback class. And, you know, even with like Jackson Dart, man, like, it's a huge projection. Same thing with Shador. Like, like those guys are more similar than I think people want to admit. But it goes back to the original point of like putting this big board together. Like the quarterbacks are all over the place, right? It's not a great offensive skill class either. The offensive line is kind of middle of the road this year. I think there are some really good, like I think Armand Membu, I think Will Campbell are going to be kind of special. Like they're like first tier type players to me, even though there's some questions about the arm length, about the experience, like physically, like when you watch the tape, you're just like, man, these guys are so good. Like they're so good. Their floor is so high. Like why not just bet on them? But after that, you're kind of like, Josh Simmons coming off the knee. You've got Connerly, who I really like, but again, is got some growings physically to do. Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. I played left tackle. I think he's a safe projection at guard, but again, like end of the first round. And so like you lose all like the middle meat of a good first round. And I think that's one of the things, like I was doing a show with Fred Davis, and he was like, instead of 1 first round pick, I want 2 second round picks this year. I just think that's where the value is. And that's kind of what this process is showing me. Like I was doing edges like the other day and trying to rank them in my horizontal board. And I was like, these guys, I'd like to pick all of them between 20 and 45. Like that's it. And so again, like that's not going to happen. Someone's going to get bumped up the board, but I think it speaks generally to like the assuredness, the confidence I have in the players. I think they're all good. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But it's just like, none of them are like these surefire top 10 guys. You're like, yes, this is it.
I feel like we talked about this a little bit last week or at some point. I don't remember which show, but like, let's clarify the difference in like, what's a top 15 guy versus a 20 to 40 guy? Like, is it just the sureness that he's going to be good? Is it the upside? Is it like the potential to be great? And I guess it could be really all of those things. It's like, which one do you have? If I like 100% know you're going to be a good football player, okay, great. If I'm now at 85%, well, that's going to drop you down. If your upside is Pro Bowler, All Pro, like that's going to bump you up. If I think, like you're probably going to be a starter I'm comfortable with for 5 years, that's going to bump you down compared to the All Pro guy. Is that really kind of the basis of it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely. So to me, it comes down to confidence, right? Like, what's the confidence that you are going to be a serviceable starter in the NFL? Like that's like baseline to me for like a top 15 pick, right? And obviously you want guys that have a ceiling, right? So like to me, the top 15 like designation is like, hey, here is the floor. It's very high. I think Joe Alt is maybe the best example I can think of in recent history of this. Like his floor was like sky high. He was going to be like a starting caliber, like left tackle in the NFL. But after watching him through his rookie year, like it's like he could be a Pro Bowler, right? Like that's kind of the ceiling for him now after seeing him kind of execute that. And I think that's what, like when you look at Will Campbell and Membu, it's like they're very, very good. Their floors are very, very high. But they also have the ability, if they kind of work at it and develop the way you would think based on their physical tools, that they could potentially be kind of, Pro Bowl type guys that you can build your franchise around. And again, they're not that right now, but they can develop into that. Then you move down the list, and like Connerly, I think is a really good point of comparison in this year's class. Like athletically, it's there, but the floor is a little bit lower, like the bust rate's a little bit higher, and the ceiling is maybe close, but not quite as high. And I think that's where the distinction comes in. Like Shamar Stewart is another interesting example. Like physically, yes, the ceiling is tremendous, but the floor and the bust rate are very, very high because of the lack of production. And I think he'll be a good player because he's so good against the run. But it's like, are you ever going to actualize like that 10 sack a year type guy? Are you ever going to get your Aiden Hutchinson out of him? People would say yes, but like I'm saying, that's more of a risk than you want to admit, I think. And so that's where, again, some of that uncertainty levels out. Like, so like, just to give you an example, like my top 7 guys are like Cam Ward, because I'm pretty confident he's going to be a good football player, like in that first tier of player. Yeah. Cam Ward, Ashton Genty, Colston Loveland, Membu, Will Johnson, Malachi Starks, and Derek Harmon from Oregon, the defensive tackle. Like that's my first group of guys, right? And so everyone's like, well, no Mason Graham. And like I think Mason Graham's really good, but he's got short arms. Is he ever going to be an elite pass rusher in the NFL? He was never that in college. And when you look at the guys who are making a lot of money in the NFL right now, it's guys that rush the passer. Yeah. So like that's where it's like, yeah, his floor is high, but where's his ceiling? And so that's where a guy like Derek Harmon from Oregon, I think, jumps him because his floor is high and his ceiling's high. And that's how I feel about that entire group. Like, people like no Tetra McMillan. Like, I think Tetra McMillan, I like watching him. He's my number one receiver. But like there's questions to me about his consistent work ethic, like on the field, like he takes reps off, like can he consistently separate? I love how
and
he
then the comments come out that he's like, I don't really love watching football. And you're like, oh, well, that probably matters. That probably matters less if I don't see that on the field sometimes.
Right. Right. And so that's where it's like, those are questions, right? And it's like, are you ever going to be a true X? If you're like, you could be a good pro, but are you going to be a true X? So if I'm taking that top 15 guy, the guys that I listed out are guys that I think have high ceilings and high floors. And everybody else is a little bit like, you know who else I'd probably think about putting in there is Mike Green. Mike Green could potentially make it in that group. But again, the off-field stuff to me, I don't know it, so I can't speak to it. So that adds a level of uncertainty that makes me a little bit nervous.
And so the off-field stuff with Green is there's multiple sexual assault allegations against him.
From Virginia, right?
Yeah, well, there's one in high school, and then there was another one at University of Virginia that never fully got investigated because he left. And, you know, he says that, you know, nothing happened, you know, so he denies the allegations, the accusations. But there's obviously a lot of teams really concerned about it, especially because it's multiple. And like you have teams, I really appreciated Howie Roseman saying this on McShay's podcast back at the Combine. He was like, if there's violence against women, like I don't even watch the tape. Like I don't, you know, like we have a hard rule that like if that's in your profile, then that's a no-go for us. And that prevents you from having the conflicted feelings that you might have if you watch the tape and you're like, oh my God, but this guy could be like, you know, you just said you have him in your first tier of guys as a player.
Based on the film,
because it's film based. And, you know, Howie Roseman, let's say like, and I'm sure the Eagles are going to look at, they're not just going to take the news reports or whatever at face value. They're going to do their homework. So I'm not meaning to push in one direction or the other. But if they determine like, yeah, something happened here, they're not even going to let their scouts like get into it. Howie's not going to ever get into it. That guy's literally not an option for them. And
that's crazy. I mean, I think that's smart though.
I appreciate that for sure because
if it's legitimate, right? And I think that's where you got to like figure it out.
And again, saying like if you do your homework and something is there and you just go, no, we don't do that here. Like that is what having morals, values as an organization is. Like if you're going to talk about it, it's saying that like, man, we know, and some teams don't. The Chiefs don't. They don't care because they've took Tyreek Hill and stood by Tyreek Hill, and now Tyreek Hill again on Monday is getting in another domestic dispute. Dude's got 10 years worth of domestic violence issues, and he's still in the league because there's enough people in the league that don't care. And then you have teams like the Eagles that clearly will take a risk on a player because here's the thing with Philly. Like there are certain things they're like, no, this is, you know, how he said, like, that's a no-go for us. They were comfortable enough with Jalen Carter and the driving thing that happened at Georgia and whatever else was around Jalen Carter. And they think that, you know, hey, that's something that for whatever reason we can tolerate. So like, I don't mean to say that as like a moral high ground here or there. I'm just saying each team is going to have their own rules, and there's going to be guys that rise or fall on draft night, both because of things that we don't know about, and that could be off the field or medical, or like there's going to be GMs that interview guys and fall in love with them. They think like, oh, I saw a speck in the Iowa game of talent, and I talked to that guy, and I can get the best. I know that we can get the best out of him. And it might work out, but also sometimes those wind up being just as big of mistakes as the guys that they screw up in the other direction.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I was talking to like a director of security for a different team when I was at the Combine, and I was like, you know, so-and-so. And he wasn't giving me any specifics because he can't, but it was like the amount of information that they have. He kind of passingly was like, oh, there's this player X, right?
Yeah.
He was like, oh, in high school, he got this. And like that was, and I was like, you went back and looked at his high school stuff? Yeah. And it's like, oh, he had this issue in college, but like we've met him and we've talked to him about it, and it's fine. And I was just like, the level of detail that these teams go, like that's where like this is such an unfair process, I think, for the media to do this, because the amount of information that these guys have medically, personality wise, like work ethic wise from the coaches is just on a different level. You know, it's just on a completely different level. Like they've met these guys, they know how they're wired, they know how they're going to fit in the building. And so like when you're like, that's another thing about for me putting together a big board. You said, oh, do I do it for the Commanders? And part of it's like, yes, but also like, I don't know the guy. And I know that that's such an important part of their process, you know? And so to me, it's unfair. It's unfair to me even be like, oh, why didn't the Commanders take player X? Because I think he's really good. Like they have infinitely more information than I do. And so that's another thing that makes this really hard. The Jeremy Green one, the James Pierce one, like the thing, even with Tetro McMillan, like if you talk to him, because I heard that clip came out from when he was his sophomore year of college, right? So he's a different player now. Like I'm sure he watches film now, like talking to his coach, understanding how he's wired and what his work ethic looks like. It's going to be different. And so I think that's another thing I respect about Dane and the Beast is he does do a lot of this scouting stuff. And that shows up in the Beast, which is great too.
Yeah, you get so much of the story, which is so critical to understanding the person and thus understanding the player. So yeah, it's kind of funny that we do all this work and we feel like we know so much, and we do genuinely put in a ton of work. You put in an unbelievable amount of work for this, and you're still flying half blind based off what the teams are doing. And by the way, the teams still are bad at this, statistically speaking, because it's impossible to be great at it. There is every team, every great general manager, Howie Roseman, Adam Peters, on down the list, they all have their misses. And a lot of them, this is still, with all of that information, a giant crapshoot. And there's no better way to do it. This is the best we got.
So did I tell you, like Fred and I had a bet last year where we picked 5 prospects, and then we compared them again this year. And we're going to air the result of the bet on the show.
Oh, no, that's awesome.
I just saw the list of my guys, and I just was like, one of them, Ricky Pearsall, was shot before the season. And again, that's terrible. Can't count for that. But that affects his production in the year.
Yep.
Another offensive lineman who was never hurt his entire college career, tore his rotator cuff in training camp and is out for the year, right? And then you're just like, okay. And Fred had the same thing. Guys that he was really high on, very healthy. And then so he ended up picking Brock Bowers, which is probably going to help him out long-term here in terms of the point system.
Yeah.
But I remember reading my report on Brock Bowers, and I was like, he needs to go to the right place to make this work for him. And he went to a place where the offense didn't have a lot of playmakers. He was the number 1 feature, got a ton of targets. And so
set records.
It's so layered in terms of risk reward, and you can mitigate risk as much as you want. But ultimately, football is a violent game that is so situation dependent. And that's another thing that makes this so challenging in terms of the big board.
Want more from Craig and Logan? Subscribe now on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. More Hoffman Show next on the Team 980 and the free Odyssey app.
Happy Friday, final hour here on the Team 980, and it'll start in just a moment with our final visit with Dave Johnson of the year. Also hear from Will Dawkins this hour, and then our weekend preview, Anthony, brought to you by...
I think it's brought to us by nobody, Craig.
Yeah, it still is. It still is brought to us by nobody. Dave Johnson just brings himself to the show. Actually, we invite... Anthony, hit the button.
Right corner, Kismet open for three. It's there.
Time to get the radio party started.
Feeds now the right block of Alsars.
I'm in your ear and mute the stream, please, so it doesn't echo.
Left wing George. 3 on the clock for three. It's there.
Feel like busting loose. Busting loose.
Crossover step back three. Oh, Jordan Poole. You are cool.
I feel like busting loose. Busting loose now.
On the Hoffman Show.
Dave joins us from Chicago, where tonight the Wizards will play. And Dave, it doesn't sound like you're in a speaker, so that's nice.
Oh, no, and actually they just finished rehearsing all their opens, so you missed that. And by the way, I hope it's just the final visit of the season, not the final visit of the year, unless you know something I don't know.
Yeah.
And in broadcasting, we always get worried when we hear that. There's the old joke that you have security in broadcasting when they renew your guest parking permit.
That is good. That is good. No, just simply of the season. When I say the year, the basketball year, which unfortunately for the Wizards is coming to an end, although the offseason is going to be fun and exciting, and there's plenty to talk about there, and I certainly hope that we will chat then. But of the basketball year, David, and I definitely want to take some time to let you reflect a little bit, because I think, obviously, you've talked a lot on this show about how this year has still been very fun for you and interesting in very different ways than years where this team has been very good and you've gotten to call exciting winning basketball. Just now that we're wrapping up here at the end of it, as you will think back ultimately, and obviously when you think back on this in the future, 5-10 years from now, it will be with a lot more context of how all this played out. But as you sit in the here and now and think about this season, how do you, what's your highlights? What are the things that you'll think of the 2024-25 Wizards season?
Well, I think it does come down to people and personalities. Yeah, there was, game winner in Denver, and you could point to this and that, but this was not really about specific games. And I invite people to go on watchwizards.com. You can see the post-game interview with Bub Carrington and Keshawn George as they face the home media for the last time in the regular season, although they will do interviews next week. But and I'm using some of that in our pregame tonight. And I think just the joy of playing of basketball that they expressed, and that also, to be clear, they got to this level by being winners. So no, they were not happy on losing every night, but they're happy. Or I don't know if happy is the word, but this is what they wanted all their lives, to be in the NBA, to compete against the best. So they'll take their knocks now, and they'll take them still with a smile on their face. They won't take their knocks 2 years from now with a smile on their face. They'll want to win. And this year, they're getting something. The players on this team, 4 first-round draft picks now, including A.J. Johnson, that typically players don't get in their first year in the NBA is this amount of playing time. And so I think that's what I'll look back with how this team just brought joy every night and responded. And I'll think about, one of the worst game of the year was the game against Indiana at home, obviously, giving up 162 points.
Right.
But then just the other night, responding and making the Pacers squirm. A Pacers team that's battling and jostling for playoff position. To me, that says a lot about the character of this team. You go into Indiana, you face one of the hottest teams in the NBA, and you show, we may be young, but we learned from the last game. We learned that we have to be better, and they were. And had chances, legitimate chances, to win that game. So I also think, as Bub Carrington, there's a funny line that he had in the post game that that he looks forward to one day being 38 and doing podcasts and talking about his 8 championships with Washington Wizards. But the point being is they realize they've been selected as a base for this team or a core group for this team. So there's a responsibility that goes with that. And certainly you can tell Bob Carrington's embracing that he gets to be a chance to be someone that they'll continue to build this team around. I see him as very much a part of the Wizards' future. Look, at this point, you hesitate to say anybody will, is going to be here forever because it's still very young, and you don't know what trades are going to bring about. And and certainly Luka Doncic getting traded this year means we should probably never say anything about any specific player. But the point being is that a lot of rookies, most rookies, come to teams that it's not they have established players, whereas this is a Wizards team that is said it's going to build around young players, the Alex Sars, the Bilal Koulibalis, the Bob Carringtons, Keyshawn George, and I think Jordan Poole has shown that he was an important acquisition to continue to help make this team competitive, because you only get better if you're competitive.
Dave Johnson with us here on the Hoffman Show. I'm glad you talked a little bit about Bub there. We had him on the show yesterday, which was great, on the heels of the community award that he won. And it just really impressed with him. This kid's 19 years old, and he's so mature. He's so put together. And the other thing, too, I'll circle this question back around to Bub in a second, but the fact that they're going to get they got 4 NBA players out of that draft, which everyone said was a bad draft, and again, the top end talent, very different than, say, the year before with Wembanyama, this year with Flag. Totally understand that. But the Wizards, I think, took advantage of a market inefficiency and have gotten potentially gone 4 for 4. And that's not how first round picks typically go. But for Bub specifically, was there a moment this season with him where you're like, yep, they got one, this kid's going to be a player, and you'll see whether he's a rotational piece, a starter, a high-end starter, who knows what he becomes, but he's definitely going to be in the league for a long time. When did you know that this season?
I don't know if there was a moment, but certainly, the Alex Sars and Bob Carringtons, keep in mind Alex Sars was Rookie of the Month for December, but you got that feeling around December, like, wow. And then you're thinking if he ever gets, the 3-point shot down, and he started to do that. And that's why he had 32 points as his career high in a recent game. So, and it's what the Golden State Warriors and Draymond Green noticed. That was a moment this year where they talked about the toughness. They talked, Draymond in his postgame was talking about, how much he appreciated Keyshawn George and his trash talking and not backing down, even though he's a rookie. And that, that was, again, that's what I think about. This was a bunch that was fearless, that they would go out there and yeah, every now and then they get their lunch handed to them, but the head wouldn't go down. I see it with, those are learning moments, but, A.J. Johnson, the other night, Miles Turner really blocked his shot. That didn't affect him the rest of the game. He continued to do what he wants to do. You can feel when you get. I thought about it today on the bus over. Actually, as I watched A.J. Johnson walk off. You can feel the desire, just being around them, the want, and that's something that I think is. As fans, that you want people out there on the court that have that want and desire, and that's why the other night against Philadelphia, you still see guys diving for loose balls like the NBA Finals are here or something. So it's a special. It was a special year because it was a group of young players. That just wanted to play basketball, not just for a month, the whole season. I've been around teams, and there have been teams in every league where you feel like, they're kind of going through the motions toward the end of the year if things are not going well. That's not the case with this team, and that's not going to be the case tonight. Whoever they play and how they play, they're going to play like their jobs are on the line because they know they are.
Dave Johnson, man's been doing this job for a long, long time, and we are very grateful that this, I believe, Dave, our third season together in the books. Really appreciate all the visits all year long. We'll absolutely talk during the off season, and we will certainly talk again in 2025, what most people know as a year.
And you have Will Dawkins coming up later?
Well, Will was on with the Junkies this morning, so we're gonna let folks hear what he had to say in that interview coming up after we are done here.
Because he, you hear the players talk about what's going on with this organization, use the word intentional, and just being around him for a couple of years, you get the sense that there's a confidence that knowing in putting this together. It's also tough to be patient, but he's been clear over and over again. He'll probably say in that Junkies interview, there are no shortcuts.
Yeah, no, definitely. Will, I've been very impressed with Will over the time. You know, obviously they've got to continue to get stuff right, but so far they've done about as good as they can, in my opinion. And Will, every time I talk to Will, I come away just like that's a smart fella right there. So we're gonna let folks hear from him next. Dave, thank you, sir, all year long. Really appreciate you, and we will talk to you soon.
Look for it. Thanks so much.
Dave Johnson again tonight. What are we at? An hour and a half from right now from pregame here on the Team 980. Bulls and Wizards, the penultimate game that Dave and Glenn and company have one more on Sunday as well here on the radio. They'll take on the Heat, but that is it, and that is all for the Wizards this NBA season as we enter our final weekend. We will let you hear from Will Dawkins next, but first, the latest from the world of women's sports. It's presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you want it at Wawa with customizable, crispy, and roasted chicken sandwiches. Anthony, I'm very excited right now. I was perusing Instagram in one of the breaks, and I saw on Clinton Yates' feed, Clinton, who joined us earlier in the show. You'll know him from ESPN and the Washington Post back in the day, the whole day. Clinton had the print version of the Beast. Like, he got like a hard copy, Dane Brugler's draft guide, and I was like, yo, that's sick. I got to get on that list. Apparently, I have one coming. He got me on the list.
Oh.
You got to have good friends. And Clinton Yates, let me tell you, that's a good friend. Good
He
friends
has a lot of friends, right?
He does have, I mean, he picks, it's not like he's just friends with everybody. He's a very friendly guy. I don't know how to answer that. Yes, he has a lot of friends. I don't know how many of them are as close to him as I am, but.
Yeah, no, I was also talking
Which I don't say
Clinton
braggadociously. I'm just trying to set the standard. What are you trying to get out of this, Anthony, besides me in trouble?
Clinton and friends. That's more so.
Oh, you were playing a pun on his radio show. I see what. I thought you were trying to get a copy of The Beast, too. That's where I thought you were going with that.
No, it's okay. I got you.
Yeah, no, I'll share.
Sharing is caring.
Again, remember, Dane Brugler, the man who wrote that mammoth document on the NFL draft, was on Take Command. So if you're bopping around this weekend looking for something to listen to, highly recommend that. Also, you could listen to Will Dawkins' interview with the Junkies this morning, 8:45 a.m. on the Odyssey Rewind, or check out their podcast on demand. But we're going to play some of that for you now. And I'm actually curious Will's thoughts on this before we get into some of his player thoughts from the season. But the NBA draft lottery is obviously coming up in mid-May. It will decide in many ways the future of this league. A guy like Cooper Flagg doesn't come along very often. Where will he wind up? Depends on what the ping pong balls say. Does Will like this system, or would he prefer a NFL draft, for instance, model where the worst team just gets the first pick?
Yeah, I think the NBA did a good job of coming in and making sure that there's a little bit more fairness to it, and a little bit more randomness to it, which I think the fans appreciate. So I know in other sports, they don't have the same things in terms of guaranteed contracts, and it's really hard to kind of flip teams around. So it makes sense for basketball.
I actually had an idea on this the other day, Anthony. Tell me if you like my lottery idea. Pyramid. So the two teams that finish worst and best but not in the playoffs have the same odds. And then it goes up. So like the worst odds are like the team that finishes 8th. And the reason why I like this, although I'm sure there's some kind of flawed plan in this, the reason why I like this is because then if you're floating somewhere, you are just as incentivized to go up and try to make the playoffs and just miss as you are to go down and drop to the bottom. So if you want to de-incentivize tanking, trying to like avoid being the 8, you can go down or you can go up, and you have that choice as a franchise. That's why I like that. And teams that actually try to win at the end of the year and then just miss the playoffs, they are rewarded for trying.
That's smooth. That ain't bad.
I think also what it does is it can take a team that barely misses the playoffs and try to bump them in with a good player. And I think it will also avoid as many teams being stuck on the mediocrity treadmill. Because sometimes you get like a good player and then you get another one and then you're one player short, but you're too good to get that other player. I think it's a good plan. I'll run that by Will Dawkins next time I see him.
I was about to say.
I'll run it by Michael Winger and be like, tell Adam Silver, use this idea. Obviously, this season, they had the number 2 overall pick in Alex Sarr. What did Will Dawkins, Wizards GM, make of Sarr's rookie season?
Yeah, I think Alex is right on schedule from what we were kind of expected. And you saw early on the impact he had defensively. And as he got more comfortable throughout the year, kind of the offensive impact that he had, and not just his scoring, but he's an all-around player with the playmaking, his passing, his ability to stretch the floor and roll to the rim. So defensively, that Indiana game, he was so comfortable the other night, protecting the rim, guarding Miles Turner, but then also switching out on Halliburton and defending those guys really well. Like, that's the glimpses of what we saw and what we'll continue to see, and that's a playoff team right there. So very happy. He got more and more comfortable. If he didn't have that month, I think, where he was injured and dealing with the ankle injury, he probably would have came out a little faster and had an even stronger year. But to have 100 threes, 100 assists, and 100 blocks, that shows you're just affecting the game everywhere. And he's only the 3rd player ever to do that. So we're very happy with where he's at.
I believe he's the first rookie ever to do that. So Sarr, kind of a complete package. We'll see, again, just how high the ceiling is. Same question we're asking about Bub Carrington, who has had a heck of a season and also had a heck of a highlight the other night when he made Halliburton fall down, go boom. Here's Will Dawkins.
Yeah, the competitive Bub came out on that one. I'm just happy that he made the shot.
Yeah.
And all three of our rookies didn't start the season shooting the ball from deep with the same level of confidence, and now all three of them kind of finished the season like that. But his durability, he's been able to play, knock on wood, every single game so far this year, and that's really hard to do for a rookie. And he brings it and has gotten better through each one of them. But for our rookies to all three of them make 100 threes this year, I think that's never been done before. That's pretty high level for kind of where the game is going. But the thing I was most proud about that game was, I think last time we were on, we were talking about how Indiana played against us at home. We hadn't had an opportunity to kind of show how resilient we could be and fight back there in Indiana, and made it a really good game and had an opportunity to win down the stretch. So for us, that's the progress that we're looking for, because we didn't like the effort 2 weeks before that in DC.
And then last but not least, Will's talking about the three rookies there, but we know now there's actually a fourth. A.J. Johnson acquired in the Kyle Kuzma trade, and I know from talking to some folks over there that was a very intentional choice. They liked A.J. Johnson a lot and didn't really have a chance to draft him because they got Keyshawn George, obviously, with their late first. But had they had somewhere between Bub and Keyshawn another first-round pick somehow, A.J. Johnson's a guy they would have targeted anywhere, I think, in that range, and they got him in this Kyle Kuzma trade. So what is Johnson's potential here as we look forward into the offseason, jump season, as Will Dawkins calls it, and then next season?
For sure. No, AJ fits the bill in terms of what we're looking for. Young players who are trying to get better and has the athleticism and can show it on both ends of the floor. We weren't sure where we were getting. Obviously, he was in Milwaukee and didn't really have an opportunity to play. But we knew what we liked from the draft, and his ability to get by his man without a screen, touch the paint, and finish at the rim is unmatched for a player of his age and his size. So he's got an opportunity late in the season. This is kind of what the experimental part of the year is for, and he's made the most of it. So he's got a lot to build on into the summertime, but this has given him that confidence, and we'll see him in Summer League, and hopefully he'll look like a more advanced player because of it.
Going to be fun to watch this summer. Again, Summer League will start in July, like mid-July-ish out there in Vegas, because going to Vegas in July, who wouldn't want to do that? When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, it is time for our weekend preview, which, Anthony, is still brought to you by...
Nobody, Craig.
Nobody. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. It is time for our weekend preview to wrap up the show here. Oh, those wascally wabbits, Anthony.
I was about to say, good, great bugs.
Is
that you?
How did you know that? It was Elmer Fudd. That's who that character is.
That was bad.
Yeah, you messed up your cartoons there, but that we're just really emphasizing, Anthony, that it is the final. What are we? 25 minutes of the show here.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's time for the weekend preview, which is brought to you by
nobody. Craig.
Yep, still the case. All right, so here's what we got. This weekend, the NWSL is back in action. The league, of course, was on international break last week. That meant that there was no league games. We saw the U.S. Women's National Team play. We saw Trinity Rodman score. Love that. Very, very happy. But she's back with the Spirit this weekend as well. And they're going to be playing Louisville tomorrow at 5 o'clock. There's a bunch of games throughout the weekend. It's actually kind of I would say a light NWSL schedule this weekend, Anthony, in terms of good matchups. We got only one game tonight, and it's like late night Utah game, but no real premier matchups. Next weekend, there's a couple of bangers, so definitely look forward to that. Obviously, the NBA will take center stage. We'll go through their schedule in a second. Some of the other sports that we often hit upon. Formula One's in Bahrain this weekend. Typically, I've watched a little bit of the weekend by now, Anthony, but not yet today. Today was a crazy schedule. So for all I knew, there's a 20-car pileup, which doesn't really happen in Formula One. But for all I know, there's a 20-car pileup in practice today. And I haven't seen a thing. The only thing I saw was a highlight of Fernando Alonso, his steering wheel. He had to like take it out in the middle of a lap. He had to like slow down and be like, let me take the steering wheel out and plug it back in. Wild sport, man.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting sport.
I wouldn't know what to do from going so fast and gotta slow down.
If your steering wheel don't work, I hope your brake pedal does.
Man.
That's all I got to say about that. But actually, what I'm happy about, Anthony, is that like it's happening not overnight, because they were in China and they were in Japan, which are dead opposite, and Australia. Those were the first 3 races of the season, and so just dead opposite schedule wise. But actually, the race is like 11 a.m. on Saturday. That's or Sunday. That's a humane time. I can watch that.
Yeah, very, very reasonable.
Masters obviously going on. You've been hearing the updates from my guy Ted Emmerich at the top and bottom of the hour. McIlroy a 66 today. So can Rory complete the career slam? You plan on watching on Sunday to see if he can do it? I think if Rory's leading on Sunday and I'm not doing anything else, I'll probably flip that on to see if he can close it out.
Yeah, I'll probably watch the last couple of holes.
And we'll have full breakdown. 72-hole breakdown on Monday. By the way, remember, Monday, we are at Capital One Arena ahead of the Mystics and the WNBA draft. So that's a huge day. Also, be on the lookout this weekend. This would be the weekend it goes down if there's going to be a huge Paige Beckers adjacent trade. So we'll see once we get there on Monday if it's going to happen. Anthony, that faces you think Paige is going to Dallas. That my hopes that she just says, no, Dallas, I will not play for you. Trade the pick. And then Washington's like, here are 3 picks, or here are 2 picks and a player, or whatever you want. We'll take the pick. We're number 1 now. You don't seem to think that is going to happen.
I don't think she's going to pull an Eli Manning. I don't.
Still not giving up hope. The closer it gets, the more nervous I am. But she's been busy doing like going to Jimmy Fallon and stuff this week.
Yeah, she's been busy for sure.
Yeah. So that's
maybe
a discussion they probably have with her and her agent this weekend, and then going to the wings and be like, let's do this or let's not. So we're on lookout for that. But really the big story of the weekend, if we're looking ahead to a weekend preview style, is what is bananas weekend in the NBA, as there's a ton of seeding up for grabs. So in the Eastern Conference, the Celtics are going to be the 2 seed. The Cavs are the 1 seed. The Knicks and Pacers are battling for the 3 and 4 seeds. The Bucks and Pistons are quasi battling for positioning. The Bucks have 2-game lead with 2 to go. So if the Pistons win out and the Bucks lose out, it would come down to tiebreakers. And I'm going to be honest, Anthony, I don't know the current status of those tiebreakers. But that is where we sit on the Eastern Conference playoff teams. And then the play-in teams, the Magic are all but locked into are locked into the 7 seed. And then the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Heat are locked in, or are battling for 8, 9, and 10, and they could all skedaddle themselves around. Currently, Hawks a 1-game lead on Chicago, who have a 1-game lead on Miami. Of course, the Wizards are playing Chicago and Miami this weekend, so the Wizards have a chance to aid or hurt the Bulls and Heat's chances.
I hope we aid their chances.
Same, to be honest. By the way, wacky bit. The Miami Heat are dead even on the year. They have given up the exact same amount of number of points that they've scored through 80 games.
That's wild.
The other things to watch on the Western Conference side of things, the Thunder are very locked in to the 1 seed. They win out. They're going to be a 68-win team, Anthony. They lose out. They're still a 66-win team. The Rockets locked in with over 50 wins this season to the 2 seed. LA is sitting pretty for the 3 seed. And they have clinched a playoff berth. So the worst that the Lakers can finish is 6th. Now, they could still finish 6th, which would actually be no difference than where they are right now, with the exception, obviously, of who's got home court advantage in the first round and their ability to host potential playoff games with upsets moving forward. But they are locked in to the playoffs. The Nuggets, Clippers, Warriors, and Grizzlies and Timberwolves are all battling for the final 3 playoff spots. Currently, Denver in the driver's seat at the 4 seed. The Clippers right there as well with the same record. The Warriors, Grizzlies, Timberwolves, 1 game behind. So we'll see how that shakes out. All the matchups get all jumbled. And then, obviously, whoever finishes at the 7 line, they await the other playoff games or the play-in games. You got the Mavericks sitting there at the bottom. They are in the play-in, as are the Kings, but they are locked into the 9 and 10 spots. They can flip-flop, but they're locked into those 2 spots. The Timberwolves and the Grizzlies battling for 7 and 8. The last thing to watch would be the Utah Jazz beat the Portland Trailblazers last night, Anthony. So they and the Wizards sit dead even at the bottom of the NBA. If the Wizards can lose these final 2 and Utah wins 1, then we're in good shape for the worst overall record, which everyone talks about having the best lottery odds. The last 4 teams, I think it is, have even lottery odds. So the lottery odds, the Wizards have long locked those in of the best chance of winning. It's just which ping pong balls do you get? And this is the important part. If you lose the lottery, how far do you fall? And so if they lose, the worst they can pick, if they have the worst overall record in the league, is 5th. It's the worst they can do. If somehow Utah gets that and then both of them lose all 4 lottery spots, then the Wizards could wind up 6th in a 5-player draft or 5-player draft. The chances that both of them lose all 4 lottery spots feels slim to none, but we'll see. Obviously, that's in mid-May. We'll cover that then, but that is the current status of the NBA going into the weekend. Anything else NBA-wise you're watching, or anything else weekend preview style that we should touch on, Anthony?
No. I mean, I'll be watching some boxing this weekend, but
what we got in the boxing world? This is your part of the show.
So actually tonight on Netflix, Amanda Serrano will be taking on Katie Taylor in a trilogy fight. And I think the co-main is Alicia Baumgartner versus, I forgot who her opponent is. But I'll be tuning into that
Anthony.
tonight. Huh?
You had 1 job. That's the weekend preview, brought to you by nobody, and I can't imagine why. It is Friday. We have 3 minutes left in this show. Again, Monday, we are at Capital One Arena, where we will be joined on set by multiple folks who cover the Mystics ahead of draft night. I think we're also going to broadcast live during the first round. Or not broadcast. We're going to be on YouTube live during the first round. So make sure you're following us at the Team 980. And for more women's sports coverage, at Hoffman W Sports. However, it is time for Real Things, Anthony. We do not have much time, and we must get to Real Things today.
Real things.
We're not going to suck this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
This segment was essentially invented because Kevin Harlan is a broadcaster who says hilarious things while calling games. And the other night, he added to his Hall of Fame, it's not even a resume, he's in the Real Things Hall of Fame. He added to his Mount Rushmore of Real Things achievements.
Tonight from Madison Square Garden, the NBA on TNT is brought to you by the new crispy tenders at CarMax. What? The way car buying should be. Can that be? What is that? Wait a minute. Hold on.
I'm holding.
Hold on. Are they serving tenders with cars? Are there tenders in the car?
Because if there is, you're in.
We just had the marriage of two different sponsors, and it was ugly. Who wrote that?
Only you can laugh about it.
Well, that just goes to show you, I literally will read anything they put in front of me without even looking like, holy cow, what does that say?
That's how that goes sometimes. Hey, read this thing. Okay.
That's gold.
It's so good. And I'm sure somewhere, some broadcaster, probably Mike Tirico, is like, that's why I read all my cards. Like, some dudes are the most prepared that you'll ever, and you're just like, you don't need to prepare. That's just wasted effort. You are wasting your time for some. And then one day you don't read your ad cards. Kevin Harlan's as professional as they come. Part of being a professional sometimes is relying on the other professionals that you work with, that they're not going to give you a card that says there's new chicken tenders at CarMax. And the thing about professionals, though, is that they're human, and sometimes somebody has a day. It sounds like a copy and paste went wrong. And honestly, it was worth it. Who can possibly be mad at that? CarMax has 1,000 reads during the NBA season. If one turns into a viral moment because it was hilarious, sick.
Do you think he was given that card on April Fool's Day?
No, this happened earlier this week.
Oh, I thought this was like a delayed, like.
No, this isn't an old bit. This happened for realsies this week. Just because somebody made a mistake and Kevin Harlan rolled with the punches, and that is why he is the god of real things real people said in real microphones. We'll see you from Cap One WNBA Draft on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.